How may the ongoing conflict in Ukraine affect you? 4 global scenarios for you to consider and act on. Created from Shaping Tomorrow's published real-time forecasts, ChatGPT's Enhanced Implications Analysis, Pictory.ai Video Maker, and edited by Mike.Jackson at ResultsPlus.ai. I suggest you take notes from these scenarios of opportunities and threats that could affect you, your family and organization, and then determine your future course of action. Let's look first at the business as unusual scenario. The war in Ukraine has been ongoing since 2014, and 1 year on, since the latest Russian invasion, there is no clear end in sight. The outcome of the war will depend on a variety of factors, including the actions of the Ukrainian government, the international community, and Russia. The longer the Ukraine-Russia conflict continues, and the greater that East-West tensions increase, the possibility of physical supply chain cyber disruption will equally increase through 2023, and possibly beyond. This could include disruption to the transportation of goods, the delivery of services, and the flow of information, materials, and food supply. Cyber attacks could also target critical infrastructure, such as power grids, water systems, and communication networks. Companies should be prepared to respond to these threats by implementing robust cybersecurity measures and developing tested contingency plans. Additionally, governments should work together to develop international standards and protocols to protect against cyber threats. The upheaval unleashed by Russia's invasion of Ukraine means countries will focus on greater energy security over the next decade by investing in renewables. Countries will also invest in energy efficiency measures to reduce their reliance on imported energy sources. This could include investing in smart grids, energy storage, and energy conservation technologies. Additionally, countries may look to diversify their energy sources by investing in nuclear power and natural gas. Finally, countries may look to invest in regional energy infrastructure projects, such as pipelines and electricity grids, to reduce their reliance on a single energy source. The EU will continue to provide financial and technical assistance to Ukraine, provide political and diplomatic support, and continue to support Ukraine's efforts to reform its economy and strengthen its democratic institutions. It will continue to support Ukraine in the coming year, also because it is becoming increasingly difficult for European leaders to even consider Russia's perspective after the Russian atrocities and war crimes in the cities of Bucha, Irpin, and Mariupol. The EU will also continue to support Ukraine's efforts to strengthen its energy security, including through the implementation of the EU-Ukraine Energy Association Agreement. Growth scenario. Apart from the mega opportunity for military restocking and increase of supplies, Ukraine will need a huge rebuilding program of homes, businesses, railways, roads, airports, hospitals, schools and bridges, etc. Now we will take a look at the transformation scenario. Even though Russia's elections have been little more than window dressing to maintain a veneer of legitimacy in the Putin era, Russia's 2024 presidential election could be a critical inflection point in Russia's history. The outcome of the election, if it happens, could determine the future of Russia and its relationship with the rest of the world. Some hope Russia can become democratic under its own steam, just as so-called colored revolutions brought change to former Soviet states like Ukraine and Georgia. Others argue that Russia's authoritarianism is too deeply entrenched for this to happen. They point to the lack of a strong opposition movement, the control of the media by the state, and the lack of an independent judiciary as evidence that Russia is unlikely to become a democracy without outside intervention. On the other hand, the West feels Russia's invasion must be stopped, or it will not end with Ukraine. The international community believes it must take a strong stance against Russia's aggression and make it clear that any further military action will not be tolerated. Putin will hope to see off or weaken that resolve. A new line of demarcation could be drawn across Eastern Europe, with Ukraine, Moldova, and Georgia on the western side, Belarus on Russia's side, and Armenia and Azerbaijan in a neutral zone. This would be a way to de-escalate tensions between the countries and create a more stable region. With the war currently stalemated, it could still end in 2023 with Russia coming out on top. Joint military drills over the last year have contributed to concerns that Belarusian troops could join Russia's forces in Ukraine, but Lukashenko has repeatedly dismissed speculation that his troops would join the fighting unless attacked. But Putin may have other plans. NATO allies agreed to increase their contributions to NATO's common funding, and to improve the readiness and responsiveness of their forces. Russia has already been increasing its military presence in the Baltic region, and if it is successful, it will continue to do so. This could include increased military exercises, increased military deployments, and increased military infrastructure. Russia may also increase its political pressure on the Baltic states, such as through diplomatic and economic means, and increased political interference. Ultimately, Russia's increased presence in the region could lead to increased tensions and instability in the region, as well as increased risk of conflict. For now, we expect any kind of easing in the Russia-Ukraine conflict to come about, at the earliest by 2024, which will reduce holdings of gold by the most risk-averse investors. However, if the conflict is resolved in the near future, it is likely that these investors will reduce their gold holdings in favor of other investments. In the meantime, investors who are risk-averse may continue to hold gold as a safe haven asset, as it is seen as a reliable store of value. The resolution of the Russia-Ukraine conflict is a complex and difficult process that will require a great deal of effort and compromise from both sides. It is difficult to predict when the conflict will be resolved. It will likely take several years before any meaningful progress is made. Ukraine will not only have the capability to defeat the increasingly outfought Russian army in 2023 and 2024, but its armed forces will be a deterrent to any further attack by a rearmed, revanchist Russia in the future. Additionally, Ukraine's military will be able to provide support to its allies in the region, such as NATO, should they come under attack. Lastly, let's look at collapse scenarios. China's veiled threat to provide significant military support to Russia could be a complete game-changer, both for the war in Ukraine and for relations between China and the West. It could lead to a dramatic escalation of the conflict, as well as a further deterioration of relations between China and the West. China's support could also embolden Russia to take more aggressive actions in the region, which could lead to further instability and conflict. If Ukraine liberates Crimea, the Kremlin will lose the core rationale for its expansionist policies, and Russia will turn inward to face an existential struggle as a failed imperial state. The Kremlin will likely respond to the loss of Crimea with a combination of denial, anger, and attempts to distract the Russian public from the reality of the situation. It is likely that the Kremlin will continue to deny that Crimea is part of Ukraine and will continue to claim that it is part of Russia. The Kremlin may also attempt to use its military and political influence to destabilize Ukraine to prevent it from consolidating its control over Crimea. This could include supporting separatist movements in eastern Ukraine or attempting to undermine Ukraine's economy and political system. Ultimately, however, the Kremlin will be unable to prevent Ukraine from reclaiming Crimea, and this will be a major blow to the Kremlin's prestige and power. This will likely lead to a period of introspection and soul-searching in Russia, as the country grapples with the reality of its diminished status. Russia's war in Ukraine has stoked fears among Western powers that China could try something similar in Taiwan, a self-ruled democratic island that Beijing claims as part of its territory. The US has responded by increasing its military presence in the region and has sold arms to Taiwan to help it defend itself. Russia's President Vladimir Putin has alarmed diplomats with repeated hints that he could use nuclear weapons in the conflict in Ukraine. Putin has said that Russia would use nuclear weapons only in response to an attack, but he has also suggested that Russia could use them in a preemptive strike if it felt threatened. This has raised concerns among Western leaders, who fear that Putin could use nuclear weapons to further his aggressive foreign policy agenda. Western officials fear Russia could use simmering tensions in Kosovo to try to destabilize the Balkans and avert some attention from the invasion of Ukraine. Russia has long been a supporter of Serbia, which does not recognize Kosovo's 2008 declaration of independence. Moscow has also been a vocal critic of the NATO-led peacekeeping mission in Kosovo, which it says is biased in favor of the ethnic Albanian majority. Russia has also been accused of using its influence in Serbia to try to prevent the country from joining the European Union. Brought to you by Dr. Mike Jackson, founder and chairman of Results Plus. Contact Mike for strategic foresight consultancy, including facilitated online and face-to-face workshops, stakeholder surveys, keynote speeches, futures training, and a free demo of Shaping Tomorrow's multi-award-winning capabilities on any topic of your choice. You can learn how I build my videos with the help of shapingtomorrow.com/chatgpt and Pictory.ai on my YouTube channel at Michael Jackson, Results Plus, at Mike Jackson 459 and find the transcript there. Thanks for watching.